last time on Dragon Ball Z.
At this point, it just seems unrealistic to continue clinging on to hope for my issues to be addressed. I've decided that they're better off resolved with my own SCP game, where I make all the decisions. The game's going to be developed on the Godot Engine, so you don't have to worry about being charged $1 for every reload, but I do not plan on it being free. I really want to add 035. The very first SCP to be fully implemented will likely be 008, and I even have an idea for 682. The coming months will be spent continuing to make this SCP game, and I intend to make videos documenting that process. I will be watching how many views and subscribers these videos get me, including this one. I will be using these as a metric for how much effort this game is worth. Oh my god! Over 500 views! A lot of new subscribers as well. I actually appreciate that a lot. Thank you guys. In return, I will be continuing development of the SCP game as promised. Let me share with you some progress I've made since that video. Okay, I watched these YouTube videos because I wanted to make an inventory system. They were pretty straightforward. It created a basic system to pick up items and store them. It was a good base to start with, and I thank the creator for making those videos. However, it was incomplete for what I was doing. To turn this into something that can actually be used for my game, there needed to be a lot more functionality than this. How do I drop the item? How do I equip it? How do I add a maximum slot capacity? And how can I make that slot cap different depending on what item it is? How can I tell a dropped item to give me multiple of it when picking up? If I pick up multiple of it, and it reaches the slot cap before giving me all it has, how can I pass on the remaining amount to the next slot? If the inventory is full, and there's no next slot to pass it to, how do I keep the remaining amount on the ground? When equipping a gun, how do I access the ammo in the item resource from the instantiated scene of the gun? Figuring all this out took a lot longer than I was planning for. In the end, I had to overhaul my entire item drop and pickup system. Anyway, the video, yeah, it did really well. Now that I have a safe haven to continue pursuing this with real potential for career building, there are a few things that I believe should be communicated to all of you. For one, by far the biggest complaint I've heard other people make of SCP-SL is the lack of new content over the years. And the primary reason for that is because so much time has been spent on reworking the stuff that already exists. 096 rework, 939 rework, 173 rework, gun rework again. This leaves very little time for adding new stuff. I want to learn from Northwood, so I will be much more likely to just make a decision, stick to it, which means I'm going to have to think very hard about each one. Secondly, it should be made clear that I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago. When I made those videos shitting on the game, that was during the time when I only just became an adult, had absolutely no experience in a game engine, and was just chasing the wrong thing. I thought that if I could get enough attention, enough views and subscribers, enough influence, game developers would value my opinion and listen to what I had to say. It didn't work. I had some influence over Yandere Simulator, but only on a handful of times. It was not productive. The only reason Halo Master Chief Collection ended up being my favorite video game is because of Forge and the custom game browser. Tools that gave me real power to change how I played. This taught me a very important lesson that I should develop my own skills and create the experiences I want myself, not fight for others to do it for me. And frankly, that's not how I want to be treated. I don't want to be peer pressured into making decisions that go against my vision, especially not by my own base. It's become very apparent to me that I am far from the only person who's unhappy with the current state of SL. I've been getting video after video in my recommended feed of people bashing on it the exact same way I do. And lately I've been thinking, how would I feel? How would I feel if I had this many people making videos smearing my name and my project? Let me just say, those older videos are now unlisted.
One thing of value I've gotten from watching these videos, though, is the observation that even though we all want to see change to SL, we all have very different visions for what that change looks like.
SCP-SL's appeal is comedy and irony, not being spooky. Horror never lasts. It's a fallacy.
Just honor the game you base this off horror-wise. It is important to know what SCP is truly about, which is scaring the absolute shit out of me.
Oh, wait. Prepare yourselves.
There's some overlap here and there, but generally everyone wants different things. From Northwood's perspective, I can absolutely understand the frustration they gotta be feeling. No matter what you do, you can't please everyone. And honestly, I don't think Northwood should try to. Because I certainly won't be. I'm going to make the game that I want to play. That means when developing this game, I'm going to put my opinions and my vision first. And I will not care what others think about it. This does not mean I am unwilling to hear criticism. If you have an idea of your own, you can send me a letter on my Discord server at any time, but you're not going to get everything you want. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the title. What do you want from an SCP game? I think this is an important question, given all the different desires I just explained. I'm not just talking about SL. I'm also talking about SCP games in general. Have any of you played SCP-5K? Definitely has a lot of potential. What about SCP Secret Files? How many mods for Containment Breach are there at this point? We can take influence and address our issues with all these games. It doesn't have to be all about Secret Lab, and it shouldn't. For example, I don't like 5K's clunky movement. I get what they were going for with a more tactical, realistic experience, but that long delay after every time you slow down gets really annoying and can even get you killed in scenarios where you need to be quick on your feet.
Try to make a turn, you just like your speed just drops by like 80%.
Yeah, and sometimes like we bump into each other, and it's like the game doesn't know who it wants to go first.
At the same time, I can understand how SL's arcade-like movement can feel like a cocaine rush, which can take horror away from the game. I'm thinking for my game, I want to find something in between. No obnoxiously slow buildup of speed, but I don't want the player moving in midair. And yes, I want the player to be able to sway the gun left and right. I am absolutely going to implement crouching.
I'm considering the possibility that maybe SCP-173 shouldn't be included in my game. Crazy, I know. Assuming you came from my last video, do you remember the camera system and surveillance room I showed off? What if someone's in the surveillance room and catches SCP-173 on the cameras, who can't move while being looked at? How would that work? I'm having a hard time thinking of a way to make that fun for the person playing as 173. I'm also thinking about having an individual blink meter for each player. How can I make that even a little bit fair? I don't know. The lore consistency stuff needs its own video. What do you guys think about wearable night vision goggles? I would have to rework my battery system to work with my inventory system. That's something I'm planning on doing anyway. Maybe if I were to have a facility control room where you could shut off the power, which would include the lights. Night vision goggles could help balance this. I would likely need to implement separate inventory slots for clothing items for it to work properly. And that could open up opportunities for even more features. Backpacks, gas masks, parachutes, hazmat suits, body armor, and even certain SCPs. For the past couple weeks, I've been hanging out in a Secret Lab server called the Plague House. In that server, I was given the proposal of an SCP game with several game modes. I am absolutely open to that idea. I think a Chaos Invasion mode would be really cool, where there are no SCP creatures, but instead just a wave of chaos. it'd be a solely human-on-human experience. I think having several game modes would also open up opportunities for adding in new factions, such as Serpents Hand and the Global Occult Coalition. A YouTuber in that server by the name ExtraByte5 proposed an SCP-610 game mode. I could absolutely do something with that. Though I'm also being careful how much I promise, and to, as mentioned in last video, stay in scope of what is achievable with the resources available to me. Right now, I'm developing this game all by myself. No 3D modelers, no sound designers, no 2D artists, and only a single programmer. That significantly affects how far I'm capable of going. My channel is small enough to the point where I don't think launching a Patreon or some other form of getting money to pay for these services would be worth doing right now. All it would do is just make my taxes more tedious to file at the end of the year.
For the time being, my objective is going to be making things functional. I am going to focus on the programming side of things to make something that can be played. I will continue to make these videos to bring more attention to the project until I can reasonably predict a successful Patreon, or however else I plan to get funding for the game. That's when I'm going to pivot more attention to assets. Until we've reached that point, the only real impact you can have on the project is to support the channel. That means subscribing, liking, commenting if you have something meaningful to say, and most importantly, sharing with other fans of the SCP series. Those are the things that are going to give the project the traction it needs.